Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Kind enough this morning to be joined by Miss Phyllis Bittner. Phyllis runs the Miners Hall Museum in Franklin, Kansas. Phyllis, one of the reasons I was so happy that you agreed to stay with me here is because we didn't have a chance to talk about the upcoming projects at the Miners Hall Museum. So often throughout the 4 states and throughout the nation, we run into funding issues. We see museums that they have the right idea, they want to do everything right, but quite frankly, they run out of people that have time, that have effort. You are actually experiencing the exact opposite as you celebrate your 10th year. You have some exciting news that you brought up, and I didn't have a chance to dive into it. We're expanding the Miners Hall Museum, I understand.
Well, we have had those plans in place just shortly after we opened the museum because we saw immediately that we were outgrowing that facility. So we have some plans drawn, and that is in our future. We hope sooner than later, but as you said, funding and then we have other little projects come up, and as I said, we're so busy. Just like today, we have 3 different things going on, and so it's kind of difficult to focus on one big major project, but that is one of the things that the board, we have a very active, interested board and hardworking.
One of those projects was the coal camp and the renovations of it. If you can kind of walk us through that, because it really gives people a firsthand perspective of what life was like.
Right. We had several storage buildings on the ground. So Gary Lofts, who was an art instructor at Northeast, came and painted murals on those buildings to kind of replicate what might have been in a coal camp. And then we also received the Miners House, which had been moved to several locations in Sacred Heart in Frontenac, and it finally was brought to our museum, and it's its final resting place. And we're in the final stages of restoration. Tours can be given. They have to be guided, and we ask for an appointment for right now. But it's a beautiful home, and Jerry Lomchek and Linda Knoll spearheaded that effort, and they've done an amazing job. It's a beautiful building, but you can walk through a coal camp and kind of get a feel for what it would have been like in a small coal camp.
And talk about educating the future of the 4 states and giving them an idea of their ancestry and their lineage. Phyllis and the Miners Hall Museum, they're actually hosting 64th grade students to give them an idea of the importance of it. So once again, Miners Hall Museum is up in Franklin, Kansas. Easiest way, I'm gonna say easiest way to get there is you go east on 160 and you just jaunt off to the left right there, and you're gonna find a beautiful building in Franklin that you cannot miss. I know that you can't give me exact details, but we had an exciting announcement on your annual banquet that just took place over the weekend, celebrating a decade. If you could kind of maybe fill us in on what we may be seeing in the future as far as the Miners Hall Museum after this celebration and the announcement.
Well, this is one of the projects that came up that kind of put our building on the back burner, or our addition to the building on the back burner, because it was something we couldn't pass up. Wendell and Linda Wilkinson have offered to donate to us a piece of equipment that is amazing. It is a walking drag line, and it is one of a kind. It's the only one known in existence.
My goodness.
Yes, yes. And we've been in contact with some large organizations in Pennsylvania and Virginia, and they said we absolutely must preserve that piece of equipment, and that is our goal. We are waiting to hear an announcement from the state tourism. They had a grant, and we Catherine Richard, who's our development coordinator, wrote a magnificent grant for it, and we're hopeful that we will get that grant. So,
now, how amazing is that, folks? You go to the Miners Hall Museum here in the near future. Well, you already do have a number of one-of-a-kind things at the museum, but the ability to add perhaps something this large and give people kind of perspective on what these machines were capable of. Talk to us a little bit about hours. This is all part of the Big Kansas Road Trip. I know that you're going to have a drastic increase in uptick here during National Tourism Week, especially for the weekend. Talk to us about hours and when we can come see you.
Okay. We've already had visitors from the Kansas Road Trip. They've already been coming in. So we are open Monday through Saturday from 10 to 4. Admission is always free.
Yes.
We're able to provide that. And we are open a lot of times on Sunday with programs. Most of our programming tends to be a Sunday afternoon. So you know, we invite people to come out, and they won't be disappointed. And we have a great staff on site, and our docents and volunteers are just amazing. We just couldn't do it without them, and they're all just remarkable.
And so much of that programming, while it may be an exhibit, so much of that programming is sometimes a living oral history that I think is just amazing when people just come and they talk about growing up and just what their lives were like. One more question before I let you go.
Okay.
Now that you've piqued everybody's interest, what if somebody wants to reach out, volunteer their time, and help the Miners Hall Museum? How do they get in touch with you?
Okay, all they have to do is either stop by the museum or call, and someone on the staff there will take their name and number and put them in touch with the correct person. For instance, if they would like to be a docent and serve with the education committee, it just depends on what their interests are, but we're more than happy to find a spot for them.
And a very worthy cause to keep the four-state cultural and history that Franklin's Miners Hall Museum preserves. Miss Phyllis Bittner, thank you so much for joining me, Phyllis. It's great to see you once again, and we'll be back with more KOM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.